This podcast is brought to you by Old World Hair Berets, or Barrettes. Barretts? Anyway, this podcast is brought to you by Old World Hair Barrettes. What makes them Old World Hair Barrettes, you ask? We found a park, a secluded park. We dug a hole. We threw all the barrettes in the hole, filled the hole back up, left it for a day, went back to the park, dug up the barrettes, brought them home, and tied some ribbons and stuff on them, made them look nice. Actually, we rinsed the barrettes first, then put the ribbons on. And now they're available for sale at oldworldhairbarrettes.com. These barrettes were handcrafted in Canada, shipped over personally, placed in the ground to soak up that good old world essence, dug back up, and brought back to Canada to be sold online at bargain basement prices. So if you want to wear that old world essence on your head, please go to oldworldhairbarrettes.com, place an order. Quantities available while supplies last. Is that how it goes? We only brought 50 of these. They're going online. Once they're sold out, they're gone. You can't get them again. Unless, of course, I fly back over here for another soccer game and have time to dig a hole and throw them in the ground. But I'm too cheap to do that. So buy them now. There's only 50 available. oldworldhairbarrettes.com. Now that we got that out of the way, this is episode 1, day 2 of the UK soccer trip. First thing we did when we got off the plane was we found this vending machine that sells SIM cards with like prepaid data and minutes. And that was like £25 for 10 to 13 gigs of data, unlimited texting. I think it was 150 minutes, and stood there taking apart our phones, putting them in. It was pretty easy. £25, it's like $40 Canadian. Couldn't sleep on the plane, so getting off pretty zombie-esque. Came in the direction of our Airbnb, wasted time until we could check in to the Airbnb. The Airbnb is in a neighborhood of Manchester called Didsbury. It seems to be one of these affluent hipster towns, riddled with these little stores. Anyway, it's riddled with these shops that look like Toronto's shops on St. Clair if there was people inside. There's a soccer game on last night between Cardiff, the Welsh team, and Shrewsbury. Not Shrewsbury. Is it Shrewsbury? Is it Sheffield? I don't know. There was a soccer game on last night between Cardiff FC and Sheffield Wednesday. And it was the only English soccer game on EFL Championship, which is the league below the Premier League. And we caught the second half at a pub called the Railway. I don't know. Anyway, the pub was loaded, as like most of the pubs in this area were all like full. And I was the only one watching the game. I couldn't believe it. But I guess it is a lesser league, I guess, and it's a team from Wales and a team from an hour and a half away from Manchester. So I guess nobody had any local interest in it. Anyway, I enjoyed it. It was a good game. I think it tied 1-1. Beer prices are pretty good here in comparison to Toronto. It's like, on average, it's like £3 per pint, which is like $4.50, $5 Canadian. But I read somewhere that the British pint is like a smidge less than the Canadian pint, so I don't know. They're getting you somehow. But food prices in restaurants is pretty cheap. It was like I think on average like 7.5 pounds per plate, which is I think that's like $11 Canadian. Still unclear about the tipping practices here. The credit card machines, they don't prompt you for a tip, so I don't know if they don't tip in restaurants. Or the serving staff so far has been extremely friendly, and they seem to like doing deals here. The pub we went to had like a deal of the day. We got like a decent sized pizza for £5. It's really good. And then they had something where you give them your information and then you get a free pint. So somebody's walking around now pretending to be for a free pizza. I sold my data for a free no, not pizza, for a free pint. There's probably a bunch of people walking around with my name and specifications anyway. So good luck trying to impersonate me. Back home, one of my data scientist buddies would probably be freaking out about that, but it was in the moment. They said free pint, said, what do you need? And I'm no longer thirsty. I'll tell you how to impersonate me. If you want to impersonate me, you gotta go around to these coffee shops asking for cream in your coffee instead of milk. Good luck trying to find that. Went to a few of them, and they all looked at me like they saw a ghost. But the milk over here tastes better than the milk back home. I don't know if it's because it's like whole milk, but yeah, the coffee's great. It's a little expensive. It's like £2 40 pence. Like, that's another thing. How did we get from pence to cents? Like, could we just kept the word pence? Why did we have to change it to cents? The toilet paper is pretty tough here. I mean, like a horse brush tough. Like Rexdale tough. You gotta use 2 hands to tear it in a pair of scissors. Speaking of tough, they've got rainproof parking tickets over here. It's like a yellow piece of paper wrapped in a jacket. And so we tracked him down. The parking enforcement. No. Parking enforcement? No, the bylaw traffic officer is what we call them in Canada. And we took a photo with him, so I'll throw that up there. Guy looked like a Power Ranger in a neon helmet and jacket. It was pretty cool. Guy was originally from Slovakia. Said he'd been here for about a decade. It sounded like he was born here. Really friendly guy. Told me I was his first Canadian that he ever met. Which I was, surprised, considering how many of us, travel over here. Went to a Tesco Express to get some beer and eggs, and I asked the clerk, where do you go to watch soccer? Like, where are the soccer pubs? And he was like, you mean football? And it's like, and then before I could say yeah, his buddy jumps in. And he's like, maybe he's talking about LA Galaxy, MLS style. And they just had a little back and forth like I was watching a snatch argument. So we got a few recommendations downtown, or I think they call it the city center in Manchester, to catch a soccer game. Specifically, we're going to catch the Manchester City, is it Crystal Palace? Manchester City Crystal Palace game. And Sunday, we'll be going to the Manchester United Liverpool game. The reason why we came over here in the first place, the only reason. If I had it my way, I'd see the game and I'd go home the next day. Because I'm bleeding chips over here. Aside from the food and the beer, everything else is pretty pricey. My wife is making her own little, I guess you call it flag or banner. She's doing like this calligraphy style writing, and she's writing all the current player names. There's like 29 players on the roster, and she's 5'2", so I'm probably gonna be holding it the whole game. So much for a vacation. And you know what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be holding this thing up, and some local's gonna be like, "Hey, I can't see, put it down." And I'll put it down, and she's gonna be like, "Kebani, hold it up." I'll put it back up, and they're gonna throw me out of the stadium like I'm DJ Jazzy Jeff. So yeah, I'm super excited for the game tomorrow. Super excited. Pogba's out, and he's my favorite to watch. But It's rumored that Martial, Luke Shaw, and Wan-Bissaka could be coming back, which is stellar. Um, Martial's a little polarizing. Really, I don't like him as a striker. I think he's better on the left wing. But Wan-Bissaka is terrific to watch. Defensively, he's a tackling master. Offensively, I think he's really good. I mean, I hear a lot of the talking heads say that Wan-Bissaka just isn't good enough going forward. I don't see that's possible. The guy, I've seen him dribble around several people, and he's been probably only played about 8 games with the team so far. Crossing, I can't recall a great cross from him yet, but he gets by people. And he seems to be strong, fast. He shares the ball. Yeah, I think he's a terrific addition to the team. As of now, the rumor is that Salah will be facing a fitness test to determine whether or not he's going to be available for the game tomorrow. If he's not available, that's another huge, shitty blow to what I flew over here to see. But it would be good for United if I want to see a win. Really though, my favorite player for Liverpool is Sadio Mane. The guy he's fast, he's strong. He shares the rock as well. He's a hustler. The guy chases people down. The guy's a powerhouse. Very exciting to watch. I know trades aren't very common in European soccer, but I would definitely give up Martial for Sadio Mane in a heartbeat. I would probably give you Martial, take McTominay too. I mean, I like McTominay, but I don't know. I'm thinking of somebody of value here that we can sweeten the deal with. Anyway, we're going to have to cut this podcast short and boot it up again later because we're going to head out to a pub to see the Everton versus West Ham game. So, thanks for listening. Talk to you again soon.